Welcome to Not for Pie Eaters. I'm John Dougal. This channel is about making the most of your life. It's about living how you want and getting from life what you want. And this is an introductory video, and today we're going to look more specifically at the types of content you're going to find on the channel. I think you'll find it helpful. What's on the screen is what I call the basic template. For those of you that are curious, I used a language called SysML. It comes from systems engineering. It stands for Systems Engineering Modeling Language. You don't need to know any of that because the diagram is basically so simple. It's a use case diagram. And what you find on a use case diagram is basically a simple and easy way to quickly convey what you want a system of interest to do. And because it's an engineering term, why am I using it for this channel? Well, life can be viewed as a system, and say you want something and you've got your little area that you live in and the people that you interact with, and that can be viewed as a system. And so where this action that you want to have the life you want, where that takes place is in what I call your part of the world. And at the center of your part of the world, there's something that you think is going to improve your life to get what you want. And in your part of the world, that's where that action takes place. And who's involved? Well, there's you, and then there's other people that are involved. And before you can get what you want, sometimes there's things that you need to do beforehand. I call that set the stage. And then lastly, sometimes, oftentimes there's going to be problems, and the problems are foreseeable. So you're going to also solve problems along the way of getting to what you want. That's the basic template. It's very simple. So you might ask yourself, well, this is so simple, why bother presenting it? Well, the reason I present it is that it's a reflection of what this channel is about and what it can do for you to have the life that you want to have. So let's take a look and see who these other people are and what these different use cases are all about. First off, no one wants to live, an isolated life. So it's naturally going to be helpful to you to know quite a bit about yourself and about others. As far as videos are concerned, you could look at, the you and the others. I've got a grouping of videos in a playlist called On Men. And in that one, you can learn a bit about men in general. Right? The first one you might want to look at is what would be called the intrinsic man. And it basically identifies the inherent traits that are common to masculinity. Another video that could be of interest is to say, well, women are attracted to high-value men. So what exactly is a high-value man? And then I've only got 3 videos so far on men, but you kind of get the idea. The third video is men are falling behind. This is something that's been happening for, maybe the last decade or so, couple decades. And I don't know how much that knowledge has seeped into everyday society. So there are pitfalls that can drag a man down, and if you're falling into these areas where men are falling behind. Well, that's kind of it for men, and I'm sure I'll add other videos to it. And the reason I started off with men is that I see the target audience for this channel as being predominantly men. Women will benefit too. There's a lot of good material here. But, hey, I have a bent that leads a little bit more in the male direction. Well, if I've got videos on men, then I certainly need to have videos on women. And currently, I have more on women than on men, and the reason for that is that men are on the whole kind of oblivious at the drives and motivations of women. So there's also first off a video on the intrinsic nature of a woman, another on the what constitutes a high-value woman, and then there's a number of other videos on some of the areas where women can cause men grief, and a man needs to know how to contend with that. There's videos on controlling behavior, referred to basically controlling women as thorns, or at least a type of thorn. And so there's videos on how to avoid a thorn and what to do if you're already in a relationship with a thorn. And then when it just comes to people, there are videos that are not gender specific. There's video on the big 5 personality traits. There's a video on interpersonal boundaries, your psychological needs and psychological values. Videos on society, like economic stratification, on misandry and how that's permeated Western society. I've got another video on our polarized politics. I like to refer to that sort of a thinking of polarization as where everybody's calling themselves, well, there's us's and there's them's, and it's really childish actually, but here we are. And then I've got another video on obesity, and that's because most of the nations in the West are fat, and is that really how you want to live? This is where we're at so far on the people ones, and I continue to add videos periodically, usually on about a weekly basis. Okay, let's look at getting what you want. In order to get what you want out of life, you're going to need wisdom, and so there's a video on life's big decisions. These are the ones that are common to men and women, and most of those big decisions are made between the ages of 18 and 35, and you need to have some forethought before you make those decisions and really think it through how to get what you want. And then there's videos on money, because everything seems to have a cost associated with it, and so that's something you're going to have to contend with. So are you really taking the right perspective on money, going after the big things of life? And then I have a few philosophical and religious videos. I'm a Christian man, so you're going to learn a little bit about that in some of these videos. But these things are there because we should be aware of them at the very least. Well, so far there are about 30 videos total. More will be added. And for this particular video, I just wanted you to get a feel for what's coming before you watch all these different videos, to see if you can kind of narrow in on what might be of more interest to you. The channel name, Not for Pie Eaters, gives a clue as to the type of people who would receive benefit from this. It came from an English slur, a pie eater. And the reason I call this channel Not for Pie Eaters is a pie eater is the kind of a person that seeks comfort and ease rather than embracing the work it takes to live well. A pie eater is also kind of has more of a bent as being a complainer than an actual doer. So this channel is about doing, and so it's not for pie eaters. Thanks for joining.